All right, welcome. It is now 3 p.m. Today is March 19th, 2025. Meeting in the Tom Baker Room to conduct the Historic Preservation Commission meeting. Annie, please call roll.
Commissioner Zenker.
Here.
Commissioner Swanson.
Here.
Commissioner Hall.
Here.
Commissioner Sakerson.
Here.
Commissioner Engel.
Here.
I'm sorry, Chair Engel.
She's also here.
Yep. And then Commissioner Nodland. I'm sorry.
That's right, I'm here.
Okay.
All right. Item number 1, reviewing the minutes to the last meeting from 2/19. Were there any corrections or additions?
I move to approve.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Sakerson. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second from Zinker. Any other discussion? Nope. All right, then call.
Commissioner Nodland.
Yes.
Commissioner Sakerson.
Yes.
Commissioner Swanson.
Yes.
Commissioner Zenker.
Yes.
Commissioner Hall.
Yes.
Chair Engel.
Yes. All right, motion passes. Moving on to the regular agenda, we have the 2023 Historic Preservation Fund Grant Update.
Thank you, Chair Engel and Commissioners. This is going to be a slight update from what's in your packet here. Staff has met with Commissioner Nodland, and a meeting is set up to discuss the banners for the designs for the downtown historic streetlight banners. An update will be provided at the next meeting for the commission, just to know where we're at on that. So it is slightly updated from what's in your packet currently. There's no additional requirements of the HPC at this time for that agenda item.
Great, thank you, Lonnie. I think we're moving on to the 2024, unless there's something else. Okay, moving on to 2024 Historic Preservation Fund Grant Update.
Chair Engel and Commissioners, the request for proposals for the South Capitol Survey opened on January 14th, 2025, and it closed on February 21st, 2025 as well. 2 proposals were submitted for that RFP. The selection committee, which consisted of Commissioner Swanson, Hull, and the planning manager, Daniel Nairn, reviewed both proposals based on the evaluation criteria set out in the RFP. Based on their review, the selection committee recommends South Fork Historical Research to conduct the Class 1 and Class 2 for the South Capitol Survey project. Based on the selection committee's recommendation, staff recommends selecting South Fork Historical Research to conduct the Class 1 and Class 2 for the South Capitol Survey project.
All right. Is there any, do we need to make a motion then?
I believe I have to recuse myself.
Yes, and I have to recuse myself too, so I'm not sure if I can even run this meeting at this point. We both have ties to.
I guess do we open it to discussion for the non-recused?
Thank you.
I guess anyone want to discuss? Hearing and seeing no discussion, I guess we'll move it to a vote.
Well, it should go to the vice chair.
Okay. Oh, good point. Yeah.
Well, I can do it as well. I can make the same comment as Matt just made, if anyone would like to have any discussion. Hearing none, if I guess as the vice chair, can I make the motion to accept the proposal?
Well, I'll make the motion to accept the proposal.
Second.
All right, and so we have a proposal, and can you call the roll? Or do we need to have discussion first? Any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Zenker.
Yes.
Commissioner Hall.
Yes.
Commissioner Nodland.
Yes,
Commissioner Swanson.
Yes.
and the motion is passed, and I'll give it back to Chair Engel.
Thank you, Vice Chair Noddle, that was appreciated as I'm floundering again. All right. Then we're moving on to the Historic Preservation Month.
Chair Engel and Commissioners, at the February meeting, the Historic Preservation Commission discussed potential activities to participate in or promote the Historic Preservation Month in May. Potential activities are described further in the agenda packet from what was discussed and what's previously been done, just based on those criteria. Additionally, a draft flyer is provided at the end of the agenda packet for those potential activities, and it's there for your review as well. Staff and commissioners have worked on coordinating several of those activities over the past month. Staff will also work to have a proclamation presented at the April 22nd City Commission meeting for Historic Preservation Month. Staff recommends identifying any additional activities you would like to see on that flyer for participating in promoting those activities for May.
I can give a little report from what I was working on with that as far as some of the things for that month. Commissioner Nonland has offered her window space on 4th Street for us to use, and in this local literature thing, the plan looks like to hang some of the big posters with a book cover or a cover of an author, several authors of note, to hang in there with our preservation month. We had that stick-on one that we made last year that can go in there, and some other things. And I volunteered to put that together. I've also spoken with the librarian, and her staff is putting together a list of local writers through history, and currently suggesting that a bookmarker could be generated for them to distribute with the names and some titles, to pull out specific titles and writers in a way that can kind of go about the community as a bookmark. I'm perfectly willing to pay for the price of the bookmarks myself. I think it's a really nice, easy, visible way to put the city's logo and our cooperation and coordination with the library. I think that would be a real positive thing. And so I would hope I can get a design pulled together for that with the help of the librarians. But they seem very interested in doing that. Main discussion being, does self-publish count? Which of course it does, and nowadays more than ever. And all genres. Pam Gerard did cookbooks. There are a lot. It's not just Arabella Thompson. There are a shocking number of local people through time who have actually published works in all genres. So it's kind of, I think that'll work really well. But I have been working on that one. So
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Sackerson. Did anybody else have anything to note or questions to ask about the remaining items?
So Chair, I reached out to the Camp Hancock because the former governor's mansion mentioned that they had replaced some windows at one point, but I haven't heard back. I don't know if it's too late or if you want me to try and reach out again. Probably can get the actual name and go to their office tomorrow.
Chair Engel, Commissioner Hull, Commissioners, I did talk a bit more with Jonathan Campbell, who I believe you had reached out to, Commissioner Hull. I think based on what we were wanting to do in somewhat in the shorter time frame to get things set up, he suggested doing that wallpaper restoration look at the former governor's mansion. I'm not sure if he had looked further into the windows for presenting that. If you'd like us to also do that in conjunction or in addition to the presentation he'll be doing at the former governor's mansion, we can check into that.
I guess it would be Sorry, yeah, talking to Jonathan, apparently they've got all original windows and doors and stuff like that, so they actually couldn't talk on that, but I was wondering if everyone would be interested in Lauren, if there's enough time to coordinate where if we wanted to add an event at Camp Hancock, if they're interested. Because I know they replaced, I don't know if it's a stained glass, but they did some window work at some point, so it's just open to people's thoughts.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, Emily Sackerson for Bismarck Historical Society during Preservation Month did a window restoration workshop down at Camp Hancock, and it did, it went quite well, depending on the weather, because she had to get, in that case, she had to get supplies donated so that people would bring a window. It wasn't just a demonstration, but it was a hands-on thing, so it depends on how it's organized. Jonathan can certainly demonstrate and show what's used and all that, and that would be easy enough for him to do.
Yep. It doesn't hurt to ask. So,
Sure.
if you want to follow up, that would be great. Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Moving on to other businesses. Business.
There we go. So I'd like to bring up an idea. So I used to live in Hood River, Oregon, and in their downtown, they had these signs on all the historic buildings on Main Street that were pretty simple, where it would be the name of the original business or the building, the year it was built, an early picture of that building, and then like 1 to 3 paragraphs of the dealing with the history of like the early businesses or the building or famous people that dealt with it. I think Lauren's hopefully pulling a picture of it now so people can see. But I talked with the Downtowners group to see if they were amenable, and they seemed interested. They reached out to some of the property owners on the 400 block of Main Street. Only got one response back, but he seemed very interested. So I wanted to bring that up to this commission to see what their thoughts were on this.
Thank you, Commissioner Hall. Commissioner Swanson?
What do the signs look like? Do you have?
Sorry, I'm sharing right now. I'm not sure if anyone at Dakota Media Access can switch it over based on my screen share here, but
One thing it might do, Commissioner, Chair Engel, one thing that might do is take some of the pressure off what has to go into the banners, because we've struggled with how much a banner can do. And if we had a couple of those things going on, that might be a good way to take the pressure off what a sign can do.
For sure.
Yeah, so there's a picture of it now. I don't know if it can get bigger or not, but it's just pretty simple. It doesn't stick out, so it's not affecting the right of way or easement or whatnot where we'd have to get a variance or something. And as I recall, they're not. I think they're just glued onto the side of the building. They're usually at the corner, not away from the entrance, so it doesn't cause any issues with traffic in and out of the businesses.
Yeah, a little more like a cornerstone sort of thing. Could be.
But it just gives you.
But yeah, it's something. Thoughts were I quite enjoyed it when I lived in Hood River, but it's a way to, for people to learn the history, but also encourage people to go downtown to read them, or if they're already downtown, spend a little extra time down there.
Sure. And these would be on the building itself. The historic
Sure.
building would have the information about its own building,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
And it was only on they had lucked out and they never had a fire wipe out Main Street, so it was all the original buildings only, none of the new ones, obviously.
Okay.
Oh, there's a good picture of it, yeah.
I think those look pretty sharp.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
And you said that you reached out to businesses, but only one person got back to you?
Yeah, there
Is
were
that-
5. Kate at Downtowners reached out to him on my behalf. Only one got back, but he seemed interested. He asked what he needed to do.
Okay.
But I figured it'd be voluntary, and I figured that's the center of downtown essentially. So that'd be a good place to start. And I talked with Amy Munson initially, just, hear her thoughts at SHPO. And, she pointed out, it's like, well, this would probably be something you'd want to do in phases rather, just for monetary reasons.
For sure. And these are permanent signs, is
Yes.
that correct? Okay.
What are they made out of,
It's been years. I would presume plastic, but a hard plastic that won't, degrade easily.
Yes, Commissioner Zenker.
Chair Engel, Commissioners. So, first of all, I think it's a fine idea. We may have to have a discussion with our Renaissance Zone and the Downtown Authority to make sure that we follow that signage. I know there's ordinances within that for signage. So, Lauren, you might have to discuss some stuff with Isaac within your team as to what could be done. I would suggest that it goes through the downtown design review. So we're not skipping anybody to have any input, especially since the RZ team works pretty hard to make sure that we are focused on downtown Bismarck and that Renaissance Zone. And then you mentioned the monetary. Are you thinking this would be future grant projects through the state of North Dakota?
I would imagine, yes, sir.
Okay, all right. That would be fine then.
And Amy Munson didn't have any objection to the
Nope.
funds being used like that? Okay.
Okay.
So we can definitely maybe fit that
She
into a
pointed out the
future-
lingering federal issue. We'll say if funds dry up, but that's the
Yes.
only objection she had.
Yeah, I mean, so that's right. So you have that, you have some state issues, and then you're also gonna have, if certain state legislation passes, certain things within how the finances are done within the city of Bismarck are going to change too.
Okay.
And they will change dramatically in some scenarios, so.
So I think we all seem to think that that'd be something worth doing some exploration on going forward.
Yeah, I don't know how this idea ties into what we just approved with the downtown historic, because maybe they can gather that information, and then you can phase those projects of putting those signs on those original buildings. I like the idea of the original building, right? If it's been refurbished or some fire and it's a newage type thing, it's not really truly historic, right? The address might be historic, but the building or the footprint of that structure obviously wouldn't be.
I think it'd surprise people if they saw a picture of what the KFYR building looked originally, because it is original underneath.
Well, in the building across the street from here, that was the old Bell Telephone building, those slitty windows right across from there. If you go up and look at those windows, the old building's still there. They just put a shell over it.
Right.
It's crazy, you know?
Chair
but-
Engel?
Yes.
Sorry, I've had
Commissioner
my hand up for a while.
Oh,
Trying to-
sorry.
I don't know if Commissioner Saxon's still talking, I can wait.
Nope, go for it.
So one of the questions that I would ask is, one of our primary goals that we have proposed for the next cycle is to redo our downtown historic district and to look at the existing buildings we have. I think there's only one structure that's original, the Camp Hancock, and everything else comes after. And so we would need to define, are we doing historic buildings? Because that now is everything, 1975 and earlier? So I guess the question, I feel like this ties in really well to our primary project that we've designated for ourselves of revisiting our downtown historic district. If it's a part of that future project, it sounds great. And I would ask who would write the text and find the photos and get those permissions. And I'm just curious, as a building owner of a historic building, about some of the questions about where those signs would go and who'd be responsible for them and things like that. So I think it's a good idea, and but I think we have some places it fits really perfectly with our downtown project.
So what you're saying is that it would be we should be looking at that in conjunction with as we develop this other thing, which sounds, if we agree to integrate this idea with what else we're doing, then maybe it doesn't have to have a specific call out or motion at this point
Right.
for discussion, but just keeping in mind that as we develop it, is that what
Yeah.
you were saying?
I think it's her intention to have it be a deliverable associated with that prior funding, and then we can go from that in phased approach when the money.
And then we could also find out how many property owners are actually interested. So we don't have that kind of a situation where we have a lot of original buildings. And so and historic structures come much more recent than Bismarck's origins. So we can figure that out, but it'd be nice to have those down there.
Yeah, that's a nice tie-in. Is that going to alter or do anything to your banner discussions that you're having currently?
I think it would be great because that's part of what we intended to do, and like what they've done in Bozeman, what Emily Sackerson had showed us, how they basically put those placards on the light posts as well as the banners. And so if these were on the buildings, that would be interesting. But it's another thing to remember that those look like they're great for the particular buildings, but our district also is concerned with the themes. And so we can work them both in.
Right.
It's just going to make it a better destination and better history, but it's really feels really tied into it. And then it really has to do with what places meant, not just what they are.
Yeah, and I think we can maybe come up with a different deliverable for those items that fit in the theme, but not necessarily a building. So we can explore that a little bit more as we go. Sounds good. Thank you, Commissioner Hall, for bringing that up, and thank you for the discussion, everyone. Is there any other business that is not on the agenda? Hearing none, I think we will adjourn, and the next meeting is for April 16th at 3 p.m. right here. Thank you all.